Hello, hello. Prof coming at you with a video about sourcing. It is June 10th, 2021. Live on the YouTubes, live on the interwebs. Hope everyone is doing well today. I've got a slightly different setup here in the apartment. So hopefully I will look okay and sound okay. If I don't, let me know. Still trying to get this lighting right and so on. There's a big, huge window in front of me, so I'm trying to get that to look good. So let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can see me okay, if there's any kind of lag or anything. I'm going to give everybody a few moments to join in because I know usually people come later to this show. So how is everybody doing out there? I see a few people in the chat already. It is the dog days of summer almost. I guess we're almost to summer, right? So it's time to start sourcing some items for fourth quarter, Christmas, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, fourth quarter is just around the corner. And this is the time of year when a lot of retailers put things on sale. You can pick them up for a markdown price in June and July a lot of times, like stuff that came in from last year, items that maybe came in from spring and didn't sell through. And this applies to like a lot of different categories, not any one particular category. But yeah, it's going to be a crazy few months, I think. I think this fourth quarter could be the busiest fourth quarter, at least for online sales, that we've ever seen. So I'm going to jump in here in a minute and I'm going to show you guys how to, I don't know how many of you in the watching this, I don't know how many of you source retail arbitrage. And for those of you who don't know what retail arbitrage is, it's simply this. It's the idea that you go and you buy usually new things for the most part that are on sale and marked down, clearanced out, liquidated depending on the item. And then you turn around, you flip those items on an e-commerce platform, basically for full price, sometimes even a premium if it's an item that people are really trying to get. But retail arbitrage just basically implies that, I'm trying to think of what the value of it is to a consumer. I guess the value is this. If you live somewhere where a particular item is not readily available, and you need this item, want this item, how are you going to get it? Well, you're probably going to go online to look for it. You're going to try to order it. Maybe you're going to order it from a big box retailer like a Walmart or Target. You might go to Amazon. You might go to eBay. And that's where the retail arbitrage model of reselling comes in that you're going to go on, you're going to find these items, you're going to hopefully find them for a markdown. You're going to send them in to Amazon, list them on eBay, whatever the case may be. And then you're going to make a difference in the price versus what you bought them for versus what they sell for. It's a tried and true method. It's reselling 101. It's a type of reselling that's been around for a long, long time. And I think that retail arbitrage, while it definitely costs you some capital, it's also probably one of the easiest ways to scale a reselling business because you can buy multiple quantity of the same item, the same SKU, and just multiply your results. You know, a lot of times if you're sourcing thrift stores and things like that, you might go find a bunch of one-offs, and one-offs are great, nothing wrong with them. But it's hard to scale one-offs because they're one-offs. You find one of them, you list it, you sell it, it's done. You may not find it again for a while, if ever. Retail arbitrage, usually you will find multiple quantities. So you find something that sells for a good profit and you find 10 of them and you buy all 10 of them and you send all 10 of them in or list all 10 of them and then you sell all 10 of them. So it's a great way to scale. It obviously takes more capital than, say, thrifting or yard selling or state sales usually, because usually you're going to pay, even though it's a markdown price, it's still going to be a higher price. But I think overall, it's probably one of the best ways to scale a reselling business, especially if you're a one-man or one-woman show, as I know a lot of you are out there. So what I thought I would do tonight is I'm going to share with you from start to finish how to create a sourcing map. And I'm tagging this as applying to retail arbitrage, but honestly, it could apply to any type of sourcing that you do for your reselling business, your reselling hustle, your side gig, your extra income, whatever you want to call it. But I think a lot of people would be able to use it with retail arbitrage because it lends itself to places that have definitive places on the map that you can go back to again and again and again. But I'm going to show you how to create a map and a sourcing map that will allow you to figure out exactly where your sources are and how to, of course, using GPS and so on, like in your phones and so on, how to get to them very quickly, how to create a route, how to go back to them again, how to designate that you've already gone to them. I'm not going to talk too much about the tracking of what you find at each one, but I'm going to do that in a separate video at a later date, a little more in depth. And I'm going to provide a free Google workbook for all of you. But for now, I just want to show you the sourcing plan, how you create it. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're basically going to need to go to google.com, and you're going to need to get a, let's see, let me pull up this one here. You're going to need to get a google.com account. And a google.com account is free. If you go to google.com, you'll be able to create a Google account. A Google account will give you things like Gmail, which is a free email service. Some of you probably already have that. I've had it for many years. And it's really cool because it just allows you a lot of versatility. But one of the things that google.com allows you to do is to use Google Maps. Now, Google Maps is a mapping function that allows you to see a map of anywhere you're at. It's just like any type of other mapping software that's out there, any mapping app. It allows you to go in and zoom in or out a screen. You can see here I have on my screen, I have this up. You can see that I can zoom way out. I can zoom way in. You can also click on a city, like I'm here in Charlotte right now. So I'm going to click on Charlotte, and you're going to see that once you do that, it's going to pop up like this. It's going to pop up with some info over here on the side. We'll get into all this in a moment. But it's really a nice app. It also allows you to see things like, the satellite view. This is your standard type of mapping application if you want to see that sort of thing. You can see traffic. You can see how far it is to walk somewhere, yada, yada, yada. And you'll see you'll be logged in up here. So I've created a separate account up here to show you guys how this works. So once you go to google.com, you create your Google account. Sue says she has a lot of circles in Charlotte. Yeah, we're going to get to that, Sue. Once you create a google.com account, you can go to Google Maps. You can actually go to it before that, but this just allows you to create maps and you can create maps, but probably a better way to think about it is a list of places. And a couple caveats. Google Maps is not perfect. It does glitch every once in a while, but I find that it works 99% of the time really, really well. So your mileage may vary, but I'm going to show you how you could create a sourcing map. So if we go up here to the top left of the screen, we see there's a side panel. I'm going to expand that out. And you can do things like you can set your home, your work location. You can click on groceries, restaurants, takeout, hotels. This is obviously handy when you're somewhere and you're traveling or you want to find somewhere, you're somewhere you're not normally used to going. You can find, just a little bit more info. And of course, you can hide all that. As you see, I just did there. It allows you directions. If you wanted to see like the directions to Las Vegas, it would tell you from where, it's going to ask you from and where, and it's going to give you the directions. Then it's going to ask if you want to start a route there. But what we're going to use it for is to create a sourcing map. So let's go somewhere different. I don't want to go to Charlotte. What's a good city? I know Sue's in Atlanta. She just mentioned. I'm going to click on Atlanta. So this is Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm putting people right here in your backyard. And you can see if you click on Atlanta, it pulls up a little bit of information about it and so on. And you're going to see some options over here, but we're going to get to those. Now, let's say that you want to source targets in the Atlanta area. Okay. Sue says thanks. So I'm going to go over here to this search bar and I'm going to type in just target. Well, I can spell target. Now it's got some it's got some that have popped up here as locations, but if you just want to search the term, you can just go ahead and hit enter. Now, a caveat about this, if it's a common word, it might pull up things that aren't target. It might pull up a range or something like that. It might pull up some type of other business or location that has target in the name. But this particular one seems to be pretty good. And you can see here on the map, all these red areas are targets. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And if you grab the map, you click and hold, you can pull the map around to different areas. And you're going to see like there's a search this area up here too. So I'm going to show you that real quick. Let's say that I said, well, it's Atlanta, but I really want to look at like the Canton area. So I'm going to put Canton kind of in the middle of my map, and I'm going to click search again. And we're going to see the map changed a little bit, and it's still showing a lot of the same places it was, but you see now it even shows a target that was in Canton. But let's go back to Atlanta. I'm going to click on Atlanta, and I'm going to search target again. And it's going to populate, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. You have your zooms over here. And I'm going to pull it this way a little bit. Now, you see like with Atlanta that it's showing you all the major interstates. Here's 575. Here's 285, which is the belt that goes around Atlanta. Here's 85 that comes in this way. 70 or 20, excuse me, comes in this way and runs sort of east to west and so on. It's showing you the geography of these areas. Now, this could be really useful because let's say that you live over here in Lithia Springs, west of Atlanta. Well, as somebody who's been to Atlanta many times, I can tell you if you live in Lithia Springs and you want to drive to this target over here in Snellville, that's a long ways. And that's quite a trip. That Sue can back me up on that. That might be an hour to get over to that. So you could do it, but living here in this area that you're probably going to want to look at the targets that are here near you. So you see there's a target here on Chapel Hill Road. There's one up here. There's one here, and there's one here. And there's even one maybe down here. All right, so here's where the map really helps you. Hey, Mr. Sadie, what is going on? So let's say that we live here in Lithia Springs, and we want this target right here to be one of the targets that we frequently go to. So I'm going to click on it. Now you're going to see that this is going to open up the actual target itself, the info. And you're going to see some reviews. These are Google reviews. And it looks like it's got 4.1 stars, which I guess is good for a target. I don't know. It's got some info about the store down here, the address, the time that it's open. If you click on the hours, it will show you all the hours per day of each day, which is great because you might think, oh, I want to go there on Sunday, but is it open at 8 a.m.? Well, yes, it is. It's got, some other information about this. It's got a link to their phone number down here. Let me move my speakers here a moment. And so on. You can scroll down, see a little more stuff. All right. So here's what I like to do when I start creating a sourcing map. I want to save this location as somewhere that I want to go. So you notice that it's got a save function right here. So if I click the save function, it comes up with different options. Okay. Now you see that there's 3 pre-populated options here: favorites, want to go, and starred places. These are the default Google options for saving a place, and they will work fine. You can save something as a favorite. So now you notice that now there's a saved in favorites list right here. Okay. And if I clear the search, you notice the heart remains for that target. So now you've got a heart there telling you this is somewhere that I want to go. And that's perfectly fine to do it that way. you can also combine that, which I have done this before, with want to go. Something can be on more than one list. So I'm going to make it a want to go as well. Now you'll notice once I do that, that the heart is still there. The heart overrides, the favorite overrides a want to go. But this creates an interesting opportunity or something you can do to make your sourcing better. What you can do is you can say, I'm going to turn off the favorite, but I'm going to leave it as a want to go. Okay. Now it's going to be a little green flag. So now you know that's a store you want to go to. And what some people will do is once they go to it within whatever time frame they want to do, then they will go in and make it a favorite as well. So now it becomes a heart again. Now you know that you've gone to this location. That's a down and dirty, quick and easy way that will work when creating a sourcing list, a retail arbitrage list, thrift stores, whatever you want to do. But I don't like to do it that way. And the reason is because it doesn't make it specific enough. Sometimes you want to source Targets. Sometimes of the year you might want to source Walmarts. Sometimes of the year you might want to source Kmart. They're not even around anymore. JCPenney, also not around. Sears, going out. Wherever it is you want to go. Maybe it's because you know that they've done markdowns. Maybe it's the right time of year. Like, for instance, you might not source Lowe's and Home Depot as heavily in, say, March, because that's when they get a lot of their regular price spring stuff in that they're selling to people. Now, a month or so later, they start marking some of that down. Those can be great places to go. It all depends on the type of sourcing you're doing, but you can use the heart and want to go system, and you can create a whole map of want to goes and a whole map of hearts. So let's go back to this one a moment, and I'm going to turn off the heart. And to turn it off, you just click it again. But now let's go back and click Target again and do a search. Now I'm going to go in. I'm going to go into some of these other ones, and I noticed something. You notice some of these are not showing that were showing a moment ago as we kind of moved the map. So I'm going to move it a little bit to the left and hit search, and it brings up some different ones. And this is what will happen to you. See how it kind of comes up a little bit different this time? Sometimes it'll show a Target, sometimes it won't. It really just depends on what it's keying on. As you move it around and click search this area again, it'll kind of keep changing. All right, so let's say that I'm here in Lithia Springs. I also want to go to this Target. So I'm going to go into this one, click save, click want to go, and click an X. And let's say, oops, I didn't mean to key off of that. My mistake. Let's go to this one. Want to go. Let's go to this one. And see how it's blank here. If you haven't saved it as anything, it shows nothing. Let's save it as a want to go. All right. Now I'm going to click back off, and now we see that our sorry, when I move it, sometimes it gets a little wonky. If you click on a city nearby, it will bring them back up. I don't know why Google Maps does this, but occasionally it doesn't. Now you will see those 4 locations are here. So if you wanted to go do a sourcing run of those 4 targets, you could click on the first one, and then you could click on the first one. You could do this in your phone because this is a Google.com account, so it will be the same thing in your phone. If you log in the same email on your Google.com, on your Google Maps account on your phone, it's going to show the same things it does on the computer. So you can adjust this either way. So let's say you want to go to this first one, and then you would just, you would hit your directions and you would go. And then after you were done there, you would change it to a favorite. And then let's say, all right, well, I want to go to this one now. So you click on it, hit your directions, go to it. Once you've sourced it, turn it into a favorite. Now, in a pinch, when you look at these, you can see I've gone to 2 of them and 2 of them I haven't. So this is one way that you can use Google Maps to create a sourcing list. It's really simple. I find it's great a written list is great because a written list, you can write down what you got and where you went and so on. That's cool too. But I find that this visually in the moment when you're looking at your phone, you can see where you've gone and where you still need to go. And that helps for planning too and routing. because especially when you're in a different city that you haven't been to, an area you haven't been to before, sometimes it can be tricky to know. If you're just looking at a list on a piece of paper, you don't know which ones you should go to first. You can make up a list, but even there, it can get tricky because in the moment, maybe you get sidetracked or there's a detour, there's weather, or who knows. But I like seeing it visually on a map because I can literally just touch it and say, take me to there. GPS, send me there. This will work, but I don't think it's the best way. So I'm going to show you what I think is a better way. So let's go back into these, and we're going to turn these totally off. Now, I meant to share with you one more thing. Actually, we'll do that when we do the list here in a moment because it'll probably make a little more sense. I'm going to turn these off so that we now have nothing on our map. Let me go back and click on this one. And we're going to turn it off, and then we're going to go to this one. Because I'm going to tell you, after a while, a bunch of hearts on a map are great, or flags, but you don't know what they are without hovering over each one. So I like to make the map a little more specific. All right, so let's go back to here, and I'm going to hit target again. Yeah, Sue says there's nothing worse than going to another store in a new city and you were there that morning. Been there, done that. That's happened to me. All right, let's look over here to the sort of the eastern side of the map. And you can see here, it's a little funky sometimes how it shows targets and so on. But let's say that we want to go to Target, but we also want to source Walmart. Maybe we're doing toys for Amazon, right? Very common. All right, so let's go to Target. Let's go to this one right here, and we're going to hit save again. But this time, we're going to create a new list. Now, that's going to give us some options. So I'm going to call this list, I'm going to call it Target, but you could call it anything you want. You could call it Target Atlanta. You could call it June 2021 if you wanted to make a list just for the month that you wanted to source. You could call it Retail Arbitrage list. You could call it Targets of Georgia, whatever you want. And it's gonna allow you to turn on and off different lists, Google Maps. I like to call them by the store name. I think it's very simple, and it allows me to think about if I'm hitting that store chain right now, I just call it that, and I can turn that on in any city or state that I happen to be in. So I'm going to create the list. You have 40 characters on the list. And I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to change it to, and now you see Target is an option here. I'm going to save to Target. I'm going to save this one. And let's do this one. Where's this one, Sue? Decatur? No, it's still Atlanta. All right, Target. Okay. So now let's X off of this. And you're going to see that there's 4 blue with kind of a little bubble with a square in the middle. When you hover over, you see art, and this is showing your locations. And these will show even if you zoom way out. Now, granted, it's kind of hard to see how many there are if you zoom way out, but these are going to show by default. Now, if we go to the menu up here, you see all kinds of options here. And I'm not going to get into all these things. There's a lot here you can do. You can print out things. You can share maps. But one of the things you're going to want to do with this is go to Your Places. And Your Places has different tabs up here as well. Labels, saved, visited, maps, and so on. If you go to saved, it's going to show you the 3 constant Google Maps ways to label things. Want to go, favorite, and starred. And it shows that they're private. Now, you can go in and you can make something. You can share it. This is kind of cool if you're sourcing with a partner, with your spouse, with your kids, with an employee. You can share the list with someone else, and they can log in and see the map too. And they can see like where you've gone and so on. It allows you to share a list between people. You can even share it with a stranger if you wanted to. But you can also hide things on the map. So I'm going to go to the Target one. Oops, let me go back out. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit there. I want to hit the 3 dots, and I want to say hide on the map. So now you notice that the 3 are gone. Now, you think, well, why would you want to do that? Well, you might want to do that because maybe you want to really focus on a different group of stores or a brand in a given time frame. So you might say, I don't want to focus on Targets right now because Target has crap. It's kind of my luck when I go to Target. Usually I don't find crap. Clearly, I'm not looking for the right things. But this allows you to turn off certain types of lists and keep others on. Now, if I go back here to the dots and I click on Show on your map, it should come back up. Why did I not do it? Because why is it not coming back up? Sometimes it's a little glitchy, as I mentioned. All right. Hide on your map. Let's click Show on your map. And as you can see here, the target map is being a little glitchy. Welcome to, it could be because, let me click on Atlanta. Sometimes in these bigger metro areas, there it is. Sometimes these bigger metro areas, Google Maps gets a little confused and it thinks it's looking at a different thing than it really is. And a lot of times, like I say, if you just click on like the city name or a location that's there, like here's, MLK National Historic Park, the Zoo Atlanta, whatever, a lot of times it'll come back up. So if you can't see it for some reason, just click on that. Like you notice here, it's kind of going away. But again, if I click on the city, they come back. So quick pro tip, real easy. And again, it tends to be more of an issue in bigger metro areas like in Atlanta. All right, so we got our 4 targets on there. So let's look at something else. Let's look at Walmart. Let's say that Walmart is also part of our strategy. Now, you notice our 4 targets are over here. Now, maybe we're planning a route where we want to go hit several stores in one day, right? Maybe it's this month. Maybe we're just looking at geography. Which ones are closest to us? The possibilities are limitless. Maybe you want to put them all on there and get to them as you go. But I'm going to create, here's a Walmart Supercenter. So I'm going to go back in again. I'm going to create a Walmart list. I'm going to put this one on it. And now I'm going to go to here. I'm going to put, that's only 3.6. That Walmart, not so great. Now we notice Walmart is here as an option. There's one over here. And you can see how quickly I'm going in here. And just click, 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 and you're adding them to the list. And then Walmart here. Okay. So now when we back out, we see, I'm going to click on Atlanta. We see that there's all the Walmarts and Targets are noted here on the map. If you hover over them, it'll tell you which one is which, right? There's a couple Targets, there's a Walmart, and so on. Now, let's say that for whatever reason, we want to only focus on Walmarts right now. So we're going to go in, we're going to hide the Targets, and now all we see are the Walmarts. Simple, right? And you can do that with any combination of these that you want. You can create, really the possibilities are endless how you could create these lists. You could do it so many different ways. Now, a couple other things I forgot to mention is that when you go to one of these, let me go back to this. When you go back to, I'm going to open up, actually, I guess I don't really need to do that. You can see right here, when I hover over the address, if you just click it, it says it's copied. So now you can paste that address into anything. A Word document, a Google Sheets document, something you want to print out, notes, whatever. Real simple. So you've got the address right there if you want to kind of keep track. I find that really easy when you're keeping track. I find that really useful when you're keeping track of your locations you went to and what you got there and how much you spent, how many units you found, and so on. And again, it also shows you the list as well. You can add notes to different ones. So you could add a note to this Walmart. So you could say, great selection, great selection of markdown toys. Wow, I cannot type tonight. Or maybe it's I can't spell, or maybe it's both. And so you're going to make a little note for yourself. And now, so like I'm going to click away to one of these, right? And let's say like I'm rolling up on this Walmart that I'm getting ready to go source. So I click on it and I noticed my note right here. Hey, there's a great selection of markdown toys here usually. You can put whatever note you want in there. Now you can obviously make that note somewhere else, but it's nice to have it right there in the moment. Again, think if you're sourcing with someone else who's never been there. Maybe it's your employee, your shopper. You can give them these notes and say, hey, make sure you do this. You can put in there takes tax exempt or does not. Really, again, the possibilities are endless. So Google allows you to really create a very distinct, but also comprehensive map. Now you can imagine. I think you saw if you saw the thumbnail of this video, you saw all the different. Yeah, let me see if I can pull this up. Well, I can't pull it up. Hang on. Let me pull this off for a second. Let's go back to this. All right. So you can see like, I think I pulled up basically a screenshot of like all my locations that I had, like just kind of in North Carolina and so on. Now granted, I don't have listed on here what they are, but I think you can kind of get an idea how. Let's do this. How comprehensive you can get. I mean, this is just North Carolina and South Carolina part of it. Doesn't even really go all of it. Now, this is different stores I have on here, but you can see like when I need to go up to like Winston-Salem and Greensboro, I have like 10 stores I can go to. Raleigh, I have like 5 or 6 that I'm going to. Charlotte's obviously got a bunch. And then I can make destinations. Like I can go from Charlotte to Gaffney to Spartanburg to Greenville, even all the way to Anderson, and then back up, to hit all these right here along this spur. I could even go down here to Columbia and just make a big triangle. So you can see that like this is really, really, really useful, I would argue, when you need to make a map of where you want to go and where you've been. So let me come back here. Yeah. So again, and that's just part of the map that I've used. It doesn't include some of the other states where I've, designated targets on places I want to go and so on. Let's see, is there anything else that I wanted to share with you guys about this? Let's see. Okay. Why is that not wanting to? Yeah, there we go. Okay. A couple other things. Let's see here. Let me I think that like that covers all the basics of this. You can create visited places, like when you actually, I believe if you put in the coordinates and you actually go there, it will count as a visited place if you're logged in, and it'll be there just ready for you, which also could be another check to make sure that you had been somewhere or not. And there is a way that you can create maps. I have not fooled with this a lot, but there is a way that you can do this. You can actually go in and create a map of an area. You can add layers, you can share it, and so on. So you can actually go in here, create locations, and create a map. Check that out if you're into that sort of thing. I don't know that it's super useful for a lot of people, but you certainly got the ability to do it there. I'm not sure how good it is or how much utility it would give you, but it's definitely worth checking out. Okay, so any questions about the Google Map and how to use it for sourcing? And I'll definitely, if you have a question and you're watching this on the playback, I'll definitely be checking the thread for comments or questions too, or catch up with me on Facebook or so on. I think it's pretty simple, but it can get tricky when you have a lot of locations that you're sourcing that are in the same geographic location. Those can get very close together on the map. And then sometimes you have to really zoom in a lot to kind of pick one from the other. And this happens a lot of times. Like, I'll show you an example. Let me see if I can get this to come back up. I don't know why this is not showing me now anymore. Yeah, it's not one. That's what we want. Okay, so let's zoom into, let's see. Where's Perimeter Mall, Sue, if you're still on here? It's here in the north of Charlotte. Buckhead, Calb. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So, like, for instance, this is the Perimeter Mall. I'm going to turn this off. So, you can see Atlanta has a little bit of retail, turns out. So, like, if you were, let's say you were sourcing TJ Maxx, I'm going to just save that as a want to go for the moment. Maybe you were sourcing Dillard's for something in general. So we'll save that as a want to go. Maybe you were sourcing PetSmart for a pet product or pet items. You were sourcing, what else is here? We got our Walmart up here. We'll make that a want to go, and so on. And that all looks well and good. And we'll say Nordstrom too, just for fun. So, excuse me, when you're like this, you can see these fairly easily. Now, it's going to pop up all these other ones by definition. But as you start to zoom out, you see that like these green bubbles get closer and closer. And now, let me click off of Nordstrom. As you get further out here, it's kind of hard to tell. Let me click on Sandy Springs. It's kind of hard to tell what these are. Like, notice how I'm trying to like hover over this one. Like, this one's the Dillard's, but I think this one is something else. Yeah, it's really hard to do that. So if you get a whole bunch that are really close together like that, I would say, you're probably going to have to zoom the map in to really start diving in on these, which is a great problem to have. You got a whole bunch of sourcing locations really close together. It's not going to take you long to drive between them. I find the drive time between locations is like a third of the time you spend, getting in the car, driving there, getting out of the car. You spend a third of your sourcing day doing that. So the closer together your sourcing locations are, the better off usually you are. So kind of keep that in mind if you're sourcing. If you're in a commercial areas like this area in Atlanta, where you've just got a ton of things here all together, right? If you look at how much stuff is through here, like when we zoomed in, there's a lot of potential places to source through here. We didn't even get close to all of them. So, kind of keep that in mind. Here's Best Buy, Nordstrom Rack, all kinds of stuff. Walmart, Harbor Freight, Office Depot, Dick's Sporting Goods, yeah, Goodwill. And by the way, this works great for thrift stores that are chains or just thrift stores that have a location. You could use this for like yard sales. There's lots of yard sale apps already out there. I don't think that, like for yard sales, you could put them on this map and create them as a yard sale tab. You could, for sure. But because they're like a 1 or 2 day event and then they're gone, like you're going to have some work to go back to them. Oh, one thing I like to do too. So let's say that I forgot to mention this. Let's see. All right. So let's say that you've been sourcing this TJ Maxx, right? Or you've got that on your list, but then you go there and the store is out of business. Now you can always call first and ask, which is always a good principle anyway. But if it's already there and you're already going to PetSmart and Dillard's and whatever else, you probably would just go. But let's say it's out of the business. It's out of business. So here's the thing. I try not to ever delete something that I've put on the list. So what I will do in that case sometimes is I will put a do not return, and I will create that, and I will save it to that, and I will take it off of Want to Go. And so I can just leave it as a do not return. Now, the downside of that is it comes up as like a blue, just like Target or Walmart does, which kind of sucks. But if I'm ever in doubt, I can always click on that. Like if I'm creating my list, I'm going to go off of here. Oops, I didn't mean to hit that. I think I hit the... what did I hit? I hit the roads or something. This is like Street View. Oh, gotcha. Like if you can always kind of go in and be like, all right, well, here's all my want to goes, and what's that weird blue one right there? Why is that there? And then you can always look and see that that's a do not go. And you can always do that too in the moment. Like if you say, oh, there's TJ Maxx, why don't I have that on my list for today? Well, you can always hit it on your map and say, oh, it's on my do not return because it's out of business. So that's an easy way to do that too. And plus that way, that reminds you too, sometimes if you go back, like if you're creating a separate list of where you want to go, like in Google Drive or a spreadsheet or something, then that reminds you to go back in and take that one out. Or what I like to do is just highlight it maybe in red, say do not return. That way, because what'll happen, gang, is like you'll go source somewhere and then like a whole nother city. And then like a year later, you'll go back. You're going to forget where you went. You're going to forget some of the locations and were they good or not. I mean, after you've been in 100 Targets or 200 Targets or 500 Walmarts, they all look the same after a while. I mean, you kind of remember certain things, but a lot of them look very, very similar. And you're like, did I go there? Was that the one where, and that's where you're like, your notes will come in handy, a do not return. Maybe you could even create a must go list in a city if you wanted to, whatever you want to do. Sadie says he uses this for metal detecting, but overlay old maps with the new to see what used to be there history wise. You can even lay out grids to show what a detector. Oh, that's cool. I saw some people metal detecting on the beach this weekend. We were in Wilmington for a couple days. Well, Karen's still there, but yeah, that's kind of cool. Metal detecting. I hadn't thought about using it for that. Google Maps is great for this. Again, it's not perfect, but for a free tool, I think it works as good as anything else out there for sure. There are some that cost money. I'm not sure they're any better. But for a free tool and one that's really, the only downside of Google Maps, not the only downside, but one of the downsides is that Google doesn't really update it a lot. It's been around for a while. So they don't always update it. So sometimes things will get a little funky. Oh, I just noticed I got a weird line on my face. Let me see if I can fix that. Not sure that this will help, but we'll try it. There we go. It's even worse. Let's try this. Okay, that might be a little better. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Don't show my wife the Walmart map. Yeah, too late. Any way to track your mileage on where you've been? Sue was asking. I I don't know if there's a way to do it on Google Maps. I like to use MileIQ. MileIQ tracks everywhere you go. It's a cheap subscription. It's like $3 or $4, $5, 6 months, $6 a month, something like that. And you can categorize trips as business or personal, and then you can auto categorize them too. So you can say, all right, every time I go here, it's business. Every time I go here, it's personal. And then at the end of each month, end of the quarter, end of the year, you can sum it all up. It'll tell you how many miles you drove. It'll even tell you like what your savings will be on your taxes. And it's substantial. I mean, I want to say every year, my mileage breakdown is, several $1,000s potentially of deductions. So worth doing, absolutely worth spending the money each month to use MileIQ, or there's a bunch of different similar apps to that. Maybe Google Maps can do it, but I like using those maps because then it's just tracking by your phone. I'm pretty much wherever my phone is, so I can always go in and log a drive. So I don't miss any, because it's easy to miss them, Sue, because like you're out and you're running errands and then all of a sudden you decide to source. Well, now it's a business trip, at least part of it. So, if you're not have an app and then you forget to go home and record it, I don't know. Yeah, Scott, it's definitely really useful. Be sure you scale back or rewind the video and watch. I guess I really started talking about the maps probably around about the 6, 7, 8 minute mark, somewhere in there. I talked about some other retail arbitrage stuff before that, but I think I just walk you through how to do this. There's so many different ways you could do it. It's really, really functional, guys. And I'm going to tell you right now, like if you're not tracking the way that you're sourcing your retail arbitrage or anything for that matter, like if you don't have some sort of tool or a list or a map, chances are you're driving places you don't need to be driving. You're wasting time. You're returning to spots that you wish you hadn't returned to. You're missing spots that you thought you'd hit. I can't tell you. Like we went sourcing this past weekend. Kaaren and I in Wilmington, we hit a few spots, and then I hit some spots back on the way through Raleigh and Winston and Greensboro and so on. And if I wouldn't have had a map or I wouldn't have had a list and a map, I would have missed a store or two. There was one, because I remember there was one store, there was a chain. I'm not going to say which one it is, but there's a chain of stores. And I was like, oh, I definitely want to hit those on my way back to Charlotte. And so I was in Raleigh, I think, and there totally was one like right near me. And for whatever reason, I forgot to put it on the list. But I had made the Google map a couple months earlier of that entire chain of stores for the whole state of North Carolina, and it was there. So when I pulled it up, I went, wait, what's that blue dot? What is that? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's one too. And so I went, and it turned out to be good. So, having a list and so on will keep you straight. Having a map will make sure you don't miss things. It's just a backup to the list because it provides a visual tool as well as the list with like the sequential and the order and so on. Highly recommend you use something, whether it's Google Maps or something else. There are other mapping software. I looked at all of them. I didn't think any of them were any better than Google Maps for what they offered. Some cost money, some didn't. But Google Maps works really well with like Google Drive and Gmail and the other products. So it all just sort of integrated nicely with Sheets and so on. So I decided to go with it, and I've been pretty happy with it overall. It's been a good tool. It's made me a lot of money, gang. It's worth taking the time to say, all right, I live in, Kansas City, and I source within an hour distance of me. So let me put on a map all the places I like to go. Even better, let me search all the places. And by the way, I would always argue, don't just use the map to search. Go to the actual websites of the businesses you're talking about, like especially if it's big national chains, and make sure you get the whole store list. I was doing that for a national brand, and I realized that Google Maps was missing a couple that I pulled up from the store list on the national chain. It's because the address was a little funky. So it wasn't seeing it. Sometimes it forgets that there's, store ABC is in an area and it doesn't see it. But then you go to the you go to the actual store's website and it's got a list of the store. So you pull the list in, paste them into Google Maps. You know, that would be a good example to use. What would be a good chain? You know, let's go to Best Buy real quick and see what they have. So usually down near the bottom, all these big chains, most chains of anything, you know, thrift stores do too. They're gonna have a store list on here somewhere. Let's see. Where the heck is it, Best Buy? You better have it. And of course, Best Buy doesn't have it because they're terrible. They've got to have it. Let's allow that for the moment. Maybe there's a store locator. Are you kidding me? Are you telling me Best Buy does not have a store list on here? Wow, I can get all kinds of deals through Rakuten and Honey and everything else. They got to have a store list. Mobile site. Wow, maybe they don't. All right, terrible example. Let's go back to the Walmart example. Maybe they do and I'm just missing it. Walmart, here's a store finder. And all these store finders on these websites are all different. This one's got, you know, kind of near where I live and so on. But let's put in, yeah, they'll have a store list here somewhere, I would think. Our company store directory. And we're just going to say in, like, you know, Kansas, somewhere I know nothing about. And there's a list of all the stores that Walmart has in Kansas. And if we click on these, like we click on Garden City, they have 2. So now we've got our addresses, right? So we can go here, we hit Control-C. We can pop that right in if we want, straight from there. And as we see, like, it comes up with just like the address. Now I'm going to click off of this a second and show you there is the Walmart. So now I would probably just click it by that, hit save. Actually, let me go on to it to make sure, see what it's saving as. See, it's saved as a start place. It does that by default. I would save it as a want to go. And there we go. So now it's a want to go. So now we would have our Walmart on there on that list. And I could have made that a whole new list. I could have made a whole new list and put Walmart, Kansas. Really simple. And then you would just go in, you know, to the next one. Control-C. And sometimes it'll pop up and show you the Walmart right near. Oh, see, there's the Walmart. So whenever they've got the actual store listed, I usually just click on that because sometimes the actual address will take you somewhere a little funky on the store. We'll hit save, put it on Walmart, or we could have put it on want to go as well. We could do both, whatever we want to do. Now it's a want to go and it's also a Walmart. So whatever way we want to do it. But yeah, use the actual websites too to verify the store list. As you can see, like, so let's go back out. Let's see what Walmart looks like. So Walmart has 74 stores in Kansas, right? So if we're in Kansas, and Kansas is flat, very straight. I'm going to click on Kansas. All right, and now I'm going to click Walmart. And it's going to give us locations, right? Oops. Walmart in Kansas. Way back to Charlotte because it thinks I'm in Walmart, Kansas. And you notice, look at this, gang. Now remember, we just looked at the website for Walmart, right? And it said there are 74 Walmarts in Kansas. That is not 74 locations. That's not even close. That's maybe 20. So always use the store. Now if you drill down on some of these, again, this is Google Maps' limitation. So don't send me a message and say, Prof, you know, it said that there was only 3 Walmarts in my area and I've got 10. Google Maps are wrong. I'm not saying it's perfect, That's why you would want to do your research and say, oh man, there's a lot of Walmarts in Kansas. And when I look at a map on Google Maps, I don't see all of them for various reasons. Some of them might be, there can be different reasons they're not showing up. I don't know if it's just showing the neighborhood markets or not, or just the stores and superstores. I'm not sure. But make sure you double check. And the store, and by the way, the store directory on their store website, that's likely to be pretty up to date. So if you're curious about if a store is opened or not, or if it's out of business, the store website will usually help you. There are some aggregate data sites where you can get store list as well by brand. They cost money. And you know, they're going to cost you anywhere from about $40 to $75 per store chain. So like, you know, Walmart, you could buy a list of all the Walmarts north in America, and I think there's like 4,000, something like that. You could buy a list of all of them in America, but it's going to cost, you know, like $60, $70. And do you really need all of America? Probably not. You probably only just need a few in your area. And like I said, you know, they got a good directory here. You know, let's look at California. Kansas had 74. California's got 280. A lot more people in California. Makes sense. You know, that might sometimes be worth having the list. You know, New York has got 98. Oh, no, that's what I thought. Let's go to Arkansas, have the headquarters. Let's see. 120, quite a few. So there's more Walmarts in Arkansas than there is in New York. Go figure. But they're headquartered, I think, in Bentonville, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a great way to use the store's website to figure out what stores are on there too. Double check your list, guys, because you're going to need to do that. Let's see what else we got here. Scott says, I've been using the phone for looking at properties to buy at tax auctions. I'm going to try Google Maps on computer to see the locations better. Yeah, you can also use Google Earth, Scott. Google Earth gives you that. I think Google Maps, there's a way to do it too. It'll give you the street view. So you can go in and kind of see what this, but now so a caveat about that, the street view on Google Maps is only updated every so often. And sometimes it's the little car that drives around with the camera on the top. It could have been years ago when they drove by that property. So take that for what it's worth. Apple is supposed to be doing a similar thing for their maps in a street view. I don't know if that's started yet or not, or if they've already been doing it. I'm not sure. Bought my house 6 years ago. Google still shows the last owner's car in the driveway. Yeah, and that's the point, right? Sue just deleted Toys R Us after 2 years. So sad. Jonathan Clear. He's still crying over that one. What's the good word, Prof? What's up, Krillin? I'm thinking about buying Fannie Mae and Freddie Mae stocks. Hey, go for it, Hesperia. I don't know too much about those particular equities. To use a laptop and then take it with you. We don't. What I do is I print off a route sheet from Google Sheets. And when I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to create a separate video for, I'm going to give you a free Google Drive workbook on how to put all your sourcing together. And it integrates really well with this video and copying and pulling stores over into that. I just didn't want to wrap it all into this video too. But I'm going to do that one really soon. But we will create a run sheet. So like if I know that I'm going to like this particular area of the country, then I will post in all the stores of the brand of the chains that I'm sourcing right now. I will just put them all on the map, save them as under their respective store types, and then paste them on that run sheet. And then I'll take that run sheet with me. And as I go to them, I'll write in what I bought, how much I got, and actually update that when I go back in. I actually keep a journal of everywhere I go, how many units I bought, how much I spent, what date I went, and that kind of keeps and I keep a running total by store brand of how I'm doing in that store. You know me, if it's a spreadsheet, I'm all about it, but I don't actually take the computer with me because it's just too clunky in the car. It's too much to do. I usually just fill out the sheet. I've got the receipts too, but I've got the sheet filled out, and then I just update it like that night or the next day. And it's really quick, actually, the way I do it. Yeah, my IQ 60 bucks if you pay by the year. You can see the same on your phone, and that is true. You can see any spreadsheet or Google document on your phone, Scott. But I would agree it is small to log in and see like Google Sheets. I don't think you need to. Like, think about where you're going. Like, you really only can go to like one location at once, and then you're going to go to the next one. Like, you're not. I don't know how much data you really need to all have at your fingertips all at the same time when you're out and about in the car. I think it's a little bit of overkill to be trying to wrap your head around 20 or 30 locations at once. It's a lot easier to kind of segment it up and say, all right, in the first part of the day, I'm going to go to these 4. In the back half, I'm going to go to these 6. So yeah, I'll share that Google Drive spreadsheet with you guys, and you guys will be able to like copy it over in your drive and paste it in and use it however, if you want to use it, totally free. Which is another great thing about Google and its products. Not everything's great about Google, but some things are great about Google. So, but any other questions that you guys have or comments you want to make in the chat, or again, please leave it afterwards. Also, if you haven't hit the like button down below, please hit that and subscribe to the channel. Trying to help out making your finances a little less stressful these days. And one of the ways you can do that is by having a great side hustle, like selling on Amazon or eBay or any of these other commerce platforms. So, but I want to make sure that I'm doing content that people appreciate and they like and find value in. So the like button, subscribe, things like that. Those are things that allow me to know that I'm actually doing something that people want to see and they get some value from. But yeah, Google Maps is a good thing. I have had really good luck with it. It's changed the way we source. We were blessed being in Charlotte, which is a larger metro area. There's a lot of retail arbitrage opportunities in Charlotte, for sure. So you can, walk out your front door and be within be in 3 stores within 5-10 minutes, but you can't go back to the same store the next day. Like, not much is really going to change the next day unless, there's some sort of markdown or something like that happens. So you have to branch out a bit. And I enjoy like the traveling to new places. And I think a lot of people do. And that's where you need to have some organization around it. Google Maps is great for that. Google Drive, Google Sheets, all these things are really good for all that. And I think you'll get a lot of value out of it. So if you haven't checked out Google Maps already, go to google.com, create your Google account. It's free. You'll get Gmail, which is free. You'll get access to Google Maps, which is free. I don't get anything from it, so I don't have any vested interest in you doing it or not, other than just I think it's a great way to source. And I hope that it works out. Hope it helps you out if you're outsourcing. All right, so that's going to do it for tonight, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Please hit that like and subscribe button before you leave, and I'll catch up with you all real soon. All right, take care, everybody.